The one thing the Seahawks don't appear to have to worry about is maybe the most important thing: quarterback Russell Wilson. Wilson was about as good as he could be in playing the first half of Seattle's second exhibition game Friday against the Vikings at CenturyLink Field, throwing for 2 touchdowns and completing 13 of 18 passes for 206 yards before taking a seat for the rest of the night in a 2013 win. And one of his incompletions was dropped, a potential touchdown to Kasen Williams, who let a pass go through his arms at the goal line in the second quarter. Throw in his one series last Sunday against the Chargers, and Wilson is 16 of 22 for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions in the preseason, giving evidence that not only is he past the injuries that plagued him throughout the 2016 season but living up to Coach Pete Carroll's recent claim that he has been on fire in practice. But the thing the Seahawks always appear to have to worry about, the offensive line, suddenly may be more of a concern than ever. Projected starting left tackle George Fant was carted off the field with a right knee injury suffered with just over 9 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Fant's knee was placed in an air cast before he was carted off, giving every indication of a potentially serious injury, though the team announced only that it was a knee injury and that he would not return. Second-year player Riso Diambo replaced Fant at left tackle and struggled greatly, giving up 2 quick sacks and also being called for a holding penalty. If Fant is out for an extended period, if not the season, the Seahawks might be forced to reconfigure an offensive line that they begun to portray as becoming somewhat stable. Carroll on Thursday said that Fant and veteran Luke Joeckel, the team's biggest off-season free agent acquisition signed to a 1-year contract for up to $8 million, had just about sewed up the starting spots on the left side of the line. Now that may be in flux with 2 games remaining in the preseason. But on this night, Wilson appeared capable of playing behind just about any offensive line, though it should be noted that the Vikings played their defensive starters for just 2 series. Wilson hit on 6 of his first 7 passes, at which point he had a perfect passer rating, including 5 of 6 for 60 yards on the first series, an 11-play 77-yard march against Minnesota's number 1 defense. Doug Baldwin also looked in regular season form in his first action of the preseason with 4 catches for 69 yards, all from Wilson and all in the first quarter. Baldwin sat out last week after suffering an ankle injury in practice but caught all 4 of his targets against the Vikings before calling it an early night. And 3 of the standouts from last week, Williams, Chris Carson, Blair Walsh, each again took turns in the spotlight. Williams had another leaping circus catch for 27 yards early to set up his own 1-yard TD grab from Wilson to give Seattle a 7-0 lead, while Carson led the Seahawks with 27 yards on 6 carries in the first half and Walsh hit 2 52-yard field goals in the third quarter, after each appearing to taunt the Minnesota sideline. He was cut by the Vikings last November after playing there since 2012. With the Seahawks thin at receiver with Tyler Lockett and Paul Richardson still out, Williams got the start. His 2 catches for 28 yards in the first quarter as well as a tackle on a kickoff seemed to strengthen his case for a roster spot coming on the heels of his breakout 4-catch, 119-yard performance against the Chargers. Running back Mike Davis, who moved past Alex Collins on the depth chart after a solid game against the Chargers, also strengthened his bid for a roster spot, catching the second of Wilson's touchdowns on 22-yard screen pass and also uncorking a 38-yard run in the second half. Throwing a largely dominant effort by the defense, the Vikings had just 200 yards in the first 3 quarters. And it was a mostly feel-good day as the Seahawks improved to 20.